Okay. Hello, Ilse. How are you today?
Doing well.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. So we are talking about themes in discerning female apostles. So I've identified you as an apostolic worker. So I differentiate apostolic and apostle. So an apostle is someone gifted by God to fulfill the definition that I just gave you a moment ago. They plant churches or movements to churches. They do signs and wonders. They establish the DNA of the kingdom, and they promote structures to establish. Oh, and I forgot one actually, and that is they teach others to do the same. So there's the apostle who does that, but then there's someone who works apostolically. That is, they do all those things, but they don't happen to be an apostle.
They don't what? They don't what? Excuse me?
But they just don't happen to be an apostle. So they're doing all the things that an apostle does, but they're not an apostle. Okay. So
Okay.
that's how I'm differentiating that. So for the sake of my research, that's what it looks like. So you might have a completely different understanding, and if I can, I want to dig around.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question is, well, do you agree with me that you are in fact at least an apostolic worker?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I think so
I do.
I mean, you're planting churches and movement churches. You're performing signs and wonders. You are establishing structures and positive things for the kingdom. That's the DNA. And well, you probably I don't know what you've done in terms of teaching people. You are teaching people to not get married, so that's one thing. You not get married as kids, but in terms of that kingdom stuff, you may not be at that point where you're training people on the kingdom stuff just yet. But I'm pretty sure it will happen. Okay, so we've established that you are at least an apostolic worker. All right.
Yes.
So to date, then, what have been some key moments, epiphanies, or revelations in your personal and spiritual development in regards to this apostolic thing?
I think the first key moment was when I made a decision to return to Lombok to do full-time work in the spiritual aspect, like making disciples and sharing the good news. And then after that, I had a dream that confirmed my calling. And in that dream, there was a specific place which I am now ministering. And then the next day, the dream was actually pretty intimidating and it scared me. I woke up and felt like, oh, was it a wrong decision? But then that same day when I woke up, me and two other friends, we were praying together, and one of them led us to read from the Bible, from the book of Samuel. And it was about the Israelites taking over the Philistine. And it just confirmed that the dream was an intimidation, and that I felt very convinced and confirmed to go ahead with my decision of going back to Lombok.
Awesome. So okay, so this was a key thing in your movement into apostolic work, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then when I eventually came back to Lombok, I went to the area that was in my dream, and then the people were actually asking for me to help them with the child marriage thing, which was becoming an issue. And then it was very fitting with my passion of empowering children and empowering youth, and also like having that need coming from them give me just the room or the permission to be there and to make disciples as well.
So my topic is themes in discerning female apostles. Now, say someone like Jackie Pullinger, who I just mentioned, she's 83 years old. She has planted hundreds of churches and has displayed good character for 60 years in ministry. So we can look at her and go, yay, apostle. But what ideally what I would like out of this research is to find some keys to help me find the 16-year-old or the 18-year-old, to help me discern who are the apostles among those 16 and 18-year-olds, and older, like, even people into their 30s who really don't know what God wants for them. So can you, in regards to these key moments, epiphanies, revelations, and your spiritual development, what about things? Can you tell me about some things from your youth, from your childhood, that you see as part of your pathway to where you are today?
Let me think. In my youth, well, when I was just graduating university, I was pretty sure that I wanted to do something that is relating with people, and I want to do something for God. But in terms of like, if you define key moments as something spiritual, like something that directly given from God, I think it was not until later, in my later years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and when was that? Tell me about it.
I think spiritual development was when I was 22, 23 years old.
Okay.
And then the calling to be sharing the good news and to be even more, to be bolder and to make the disciples, and to it was not until I was 29 years old.
29. Is that about when you did the internship?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's nice to know. Okay. All right. Okay. So let me change the topic a wee bit. So in your journey then between like up to date, can you describe some key signs, wonders, and miracles that you've seen in your ministry?
Okay. In my ministry, yeah, sure. There are lots. The signs, I think it was the dream. The dreams was the sign. And then how the people in the village also had a dream about me, coming back and visiting them.
Okay.
And then for wonders and miracles, like the story of a baby that we were praying for. This baby was born without an opening in her, is it okay if I say it here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not an opening, you know it.
No,
And
just
then
say it. Just say it so for the record.
okay, without an opening in her vagina.
Thank you.
And then the mother was the mother was very concerned. She was already 9 months old, and apparently she was born without it. And she brought the baby to us, and there was nothing we could do because it seemed from the human eye, it seemed like a medical intervention is needed.
Yep.
So we prayed for her. We prayed for the baby, but we also advised her to go to the nearest health facility.
Yep.
In 2 weeks, she went there. They told her to take the baby home, and that she should wait until the baby is 2 years old to intervene. But she was restless, and we said that we are willing to take her to the hospital in the city, as long as the whole family agrees. but we kept on praying and claiming in Jesus' name that there will be miracles. And then in 2 weeks' time, so in total in a month, they came back to us and then they said that there was a good news, that there was an opening now and the baby is, it's like any other baby, female baby. And before that happened, this lady had two dreams. The first dream, she saw me and my friend praying for the baby. And then the second dream, we were praying and sort of operating the baby. And we were praying in Jesus' name. We told her that Jesus is the only one who can perform miracles and he can do more than what we imagine or think.
So you said that in the dream?
No, when we were praying for her.
Okay.
She just said in her dream, she just saw us praying for the baby.
Okay.
Like we did when she first brought the baby to us.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it was very interesting because she did go to see the witch doctor. She went to the hospital, but it was us that God put in her dreams. Yep. And through that, she was now studying the word with us.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So she's in a DBS group.
Yes, she is in the DBS group.
Awesome. And from what you've told me outside of this recording, I believe there's been numerous other miracles as well, healings as well, and
healings, provisions,
jobs provided, things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Healing, provisions, and specific things that people ask, multiplication of food, those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's keep moving along then. So good testimonies. So have you had any personal revelation from or of Jesus? Like have you had like a personal revelation of Jesus? Have you seen him? Have you heard his voice directly?
His voice, yeah. Is it during the time of my ministry, you mean?
Anytime.
Anytime? Yes. I think, yeah. One time, is it specific? Like, is it Jesus or is it different Jesus with the Father, like God in general for you specifically, or?
For the sake of this exercise, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, yes. In my dream, one time. So I was very struggling at the time. I was having a difficult time with a friend at work. And then I was sleeping, and in my dream, like there's drops of water falling from the ceiling onto my forehead. And with each drop, there's a voice, God's voice saying, I'm not against you. I'm with you. I'm not against you. And then I woke up. And then when I was even younger, when my father just passed away and I was very sad and grieving and depressed about it, when I was riding my motorbike, there was a voice saying, I'm not done with you yet. And from that moment on, there were breakthroughs from personal struggle, addiction, and just relationship in families. In relationships in my family, and then faith, breakthrough in my faith as well.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so some good personal revelation there. Okay, next question is: do you identify as an apostle?
That's I feel like I've never been asked this before, so I don't know. But based on what I feel like, and this might be a wrong way of thinking, I feel like unless I can prove, unless I can see I cannot see the fruit yet, as in like churches are established. So I'm a bit not sure.
Okay. Well, you know that. Okay, so this bit is off the record. Yeah, I won't include it in the transcript. but I have been very, very direct with Nia about my belief that she has an apostolic call, an apostles calling, and I've never said it to you very intentionally. And that's because you come from a very Protestant background, and I didn't want to scare you off. But yeah, look, but you have admitted to me that you are operating minimally apostolically, and so it. I mean, I haven't. I heard from God about Nia. I haven't heard from God about you, but what I see with my eyes, it does seem kind of obvious. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if you went to the Lord about it and asked him, because one, I think it's important to name it. Like someone I spoke to, I said, hey, it looks to me like you're an apostle, and they went, maybe I am. Actually, I am. And when they named it, it helped, because when you name it and you say, yeah, I mean, like, it's not something you got to put on your Facebook. But when you name it, you can lean. I found when I named it, I could lean into the gift, and there change started happening. And one of those changes was the internship. Yeah. Anyway, okay, back on record. Okay, so you said what was the term you used? Not certain about identifying as an apostle. What do you think of the evidences so far?
Of being an apostle? I think the calling, first of all, I think the calling and the desire to follow that calling of like wanting to plant church or to raise up churches and to make disciples is first. But also as in doing so, there are miracles. I mean, there are confirmation from that calling and miracles and wonders. I think this is part of, like, the next question is what's your process of identifying or coming to identify yourself as an apostle? This is part of it, I think, of becoming or identifying myself as one, because I was not aware of it. It's a term, yeah.
So then the last part of this question 4, it says, what was your process? Yeah. Yeah. And this is there are a number of church culture issues that we need to overcome. So yeah, I would never advise anyone to advertise apostleship on your Facebook or put it on a business card, but the important thing is the function. And from my perspective, the evidences are very strong. And so I think you just need to go through and keep talking to Jesus about it and saying, okay, bring it on, make it happen. Yeah. Okay, well, we've pretty much answered question 5, that you might think of something else. What gifts or qualities associated with being an apostle do you see in yourself, or have others observed in you?
I think the first one is like having that calling, that vision, and being obedient. People often, whenever I tell them about my ministry, they tell me that I'm very obedient, perseverant. And then good at building relationships, and then just naturally leading people into conversation about faith and sharing or praying for people and having those prayers answered, encouraging other people to pray, being able to adapt in different environments. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's most
I also see that you are very much a details person, but
Mhm.
you're highly organized, but you also are a big picture person as well, which is quite unusual for like, so for me, I am very much big picture and not details, where my wife is very much details and not big picture, so we sort of fit together like this. Where you seem to have both of those abilities, which you're planning, you're systematic. I think that's just good indications as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me know about that. I thought everyone is like that.
No. And if you no, look, it's true. Look, I when I was a teacher, I perceived myself as being a disorganized person, but after a while, I realized that, well, I was never the most organized person in the world, but I actually took on more than most people, and consequently had more. I was juggling more balls. And then when I became like I began to lead the middle school, I realized, man, there are so many people who are less organized than me. They're really terribly organized. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me think. Another thing that ever since I started this ministry, the other thing that I recognize in me is that when I first started this ministry, I was very sure of that calling, that I did it on my own without anyone.
Yeah.
And I thought everyone was like that, but so many people came to me and said, "You're very brave, you're very courageous." And I'm like, I thought everyone would do the same.
Yeah.
But then I later found out that, oh yeah, some people would wait until they have enough, enough people or enough funds to do something, and then they will actually do it. But I just thought that, it's something that I pretty unique. I just found.
Yeah,
Out that.
absolutely. So that now that brings up a very good point. So before you started this ministry, had you ever started anything? Like not, and I'm not talking about ministry stuff. I'm talking about anything. Did you ever start anything or create anything?
As in, like anything, like
Yeah, yeah.
maybe.
Did keep going?
Sorry, maybe.
Keep going. Keep going.
So yeah, I used to write poems, if that makes sense, if that's relatable. I painted. I used to do things with creative with my hands. But in terms of like starting something like this in a new area alone, it was the first time. But yeah, I did most of the times it was just for me, for me, but not for other people.
Yeah.
That I
So
create something.
so did you ever lead a sports team or a work team?
In title, yes, I was, but in function, my leader at the time was very micromanaging. So I wasn't really functioning as a leader, I think. So
Okay.
this is a phase for me to learn how to lead actually.
Really? Okay. Okay. That's amazing. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
You are. You are. I mean, you've just been to hell and back. And please don't go there again. But yeah, you're doing an awesome job. We're really proud of you and the way that you constantly pushing forward with this and paying a high price. Like it's amazing, and we are grateful to God for you.
Thank you.
All right. So, question 6. What role did others play in discerning your apostleship?
Well, my supervisor, my overseer, I think I wasn't familiar with it. And like I come from Protestant background, so this is not very often being talked about. Like the concept of being an apostle itself, nowadays in today's age. So other people, other people play a role in talking about it and bringing it up and introducing what it means, how it looks like today, and help me to identify, oh, I have this, I have that. And I don't know yet if I will have that, but I feel like I'm going toward that direction. Yeah. So I think it's mostly from other people, not from myself.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe this question isn't relevant. What was the time span and process between personal identification as an apostle and apostolic fruit? Well, you haven't yet formally identified as an apostle, so maybe that's not relevant. Maybe we'll just leave that one. But let me say, we see apostolic fruit.
Okay. How do you define that? What's that? Like, is
Well,
that people, is that the miracles or the wonders, or are they people coming to faith? Are they churches being planted? Are they the structures that you were talking about? So yeah,
fruit, good character.
Oh, okay.
Love for God.
Okay.
The gospel is being preached. You're in an isolated UPG where no one wants to go. You are performing signs and wonders. You're establishing Bible studies. What else? You've set up a structure. Your child marriage stuff. That's a structure, and I think there's elements of training going on already, right? Like those people are already leading their own DVS, right?
Yes, in our presence, yes.
Okay. So you are already doing everything that an apostle does. Now you look at the apostles in the Bible. So we've probably got, I think, 16 or 17 apostles mentioned in the Bible. I think only three, maybe 5 of them. I can't know if they do count it up, but only a handful actually wrote the Bible. And the rest of them sort of disappeared, and we don't know actually really much about them. Like there is history and tradition, but we really don't know much about them. So this fruit that you have, the fruit of your life, is good. Like you're only just getting started. This is what, 2? Have you been doing this for 2 years?
Yes, 2 years now.
Yeah, this is early days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like I'm still a baby apostle, a baby apostle.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's what I feel. But in 10 years' time, there will be much more fruit, and anyway, it's just really nice. It makes me really, really happy. Have you suffered because of this calling, and how so?
Well, I'm tired most week, but I don't think I'm I have suffered. Like recently, I went, like what you said about being gone to hell and came back. I think that's not necessarily because of this ministry. That's because of like, it's related to that, but it's not because of the ministry. So far, no.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like if my wife tells me to do the dishes and I do them, I feel like I'm suffering.
Oh,
Yeah,
but sorry.
yeah. So I'm not necessarily talking about being tortured or going to jail for the gospel, but yeah, but I see that you guys come home from the village looking absolutely haggard. Would that be right?
Yes, yes. But
Yeah.
I just realized that in relation to what I was just experiencing recently, somebody told me that be aware as well that this might be a spiritual battle. This might be a spiritual warfare, on how, like, what you're doing and how it's bringing fruits. And the opponent doesn't like it. And they want to mess with your team. They want to mess with who you are. So yeah, it just crossed my mind that not necessarily right away like oppression from the people that I'm serving, but yeah, I think because of what we do and because of how much fruit being produced, we are also under this oppression of like from the spirit, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, and yeah, like and talking about suffering, I mean, we're suffering for the gospel. I mean, if you're suffering because of a team issue like you just talked about, I mean, that's still suffering. I saw you suffering. It was, I mean, clearly it was a very awful time for you. Yeah, yeah. All right, next question. Which biblical leaders do you identify with, and in what ways?
Um, sometimes I feel like I'm Moses.
Okay.
Uh, in the sense that he heard this calling. It was quite spiritual and spiritual experience, and then as he began leading people, he had his moments of ups and downs, and yet God still chose to use him. And then he was able to perform miracles as well, when the people that he's leading or serving or ministering to needed it.
Yeah.
And he was very human. I saw him being angry. I saw him being close with God. I saw him getting frustrated with people. And so very human to me.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. And that, I don't know about you, but I always take perverse satisfaction in thinking about, yeah, he got angry, so how much more I, who are less of a saint than Moses.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think I still identified with him because before he had that calling, he just had this passion. He just had this or compassion toward the Israelites. And he never did that before. He never led people before. So this was entirely a new thing. And he often went up to the mountain, and sometimes I imagine that it can be a lonely place, not having anyone understanding like what God is telling you, and you have to tell them. Yeah, sometimes I feel that way.
Yep. Okay. That's great. I get it.
Mhm.
All right. How did your background, like your religion, your church, your organization, influence your identification or non-identification as an apostle?
I think with church, my background is I went to a Presbyterian church, and it's I think most people in the Presbyterian church, we don't pray directly and expect miracles right away. And so and I even had a discussion with someone who said that God no longer, like people no longer perform miracles and wonders because they did it before and during the apostle time because they needed signs from God. But now we have the Bible. So for a time being, I think because that was the belief, I don't identify myself as an apostle.
Yeah.
But now that I'm with an organization that is that is, would you say charismatic?
Mildly charismatic.
Mildly, yes, charismatic. And now that I have gone through, I went through an internship, 6 month internship where I learned about it in theory, but also practice and saw the result and saw how it worked. I feel like it helped me to identify myself as someone, oh, I can actually pray and people can be healed, like miracles happen today. And so that also helped me to be more open about, oh, I can be an apostle. I can be an apostle. I may be an apostle. And seeing from the fruits, I am an apostle. Seeing from the fruits and the definition that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that just when you're talking to Protestant people, you need to be very careful because you'll be called sombong, you'll be called sesat, napapalsu.
Yeah.
But but keep pushing forward. It's great. Good answers. Thank you. All right. Do you have any female apostle role models?
See, I think again the topic or the theme of apostle is very new for me. That I can't even, unless you tell me a name, then I will remember. But I can't even think of female apostle. Like, do you mean in the Bible or do you mean in real life? Because I think
in the Bible, in history, in real life.
I'm a bit embarrassed to say it, but I can't recall any.
Okay.
I think that just goes to show how it is not something that's an important part or something that the Protestant believe, because I'm not aware of that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. That's a fine answer. When we're off the call, I'll give you some suggestions.
I was gonna say Nia, Emma.
Yeah. But again, though, I think they are in the same stage of development as you. Yeah. So I think if you look to some older women that you know well, you'll probably see some.
Let me think. Would you I've heard of Elizabeth Elliot, but I also and then I've read some stories and some books that she wrote. Would you consider her an apostle and then
I've never read anything. I've heard of her and seen her write lots of books, but I don't know actually about what she's done, so I couldn't say.
okay.
But
Yeah.
Jackie Pullinger, that would be one. In World Outreach, numerous women, but I can't tell you on the call. I'll tell you outside. I live with one.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Next question then. So at your present level of understanding, what differences and similarities do you see, if any, between female and male apostles?
Hmm. I'm thinking. I don't think I see any difference other than depending on the host culture. You know, I think, but even then, me being a female, ministering in a Muslim background culture, they would still listen to what I say. They would want me to pray for them, lead the prayer, and lead the Bible study. And these are men older than me, and their families. So theoretically speaking, I wanted to say that it depends on the culture. They would probably honor male apostle better than the female apostle, but that hasn't been the case in my ministry.
So it's not quite what you expect.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, that was surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's kind of
good
awesome.
surprise.
Yeah,
Good
and
surprise.
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the next 5 generations, I wonder what kind of this DNA that you were putting into that village, what kind of impact will that DNA bring into that village and the women in that village in the next 30, 40 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You like your sweat, blood, emotional turmoil is not for nothing. And, like there will be good fruit, we might not see that fruit for a generation or even 2, but the seed has to grow. You're like, have you read my book, by the way?
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Oh,
Okay.
the one you asked to check the translation for?
No. The one about apostles, evangelists, and stuff.
Oh, belum. Not yet.
Have I given you one?
Let me check. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You probably
Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, but I pointed out there, like like the DNA of freedom and anti-slavery was put into the gospel by Jesus and Paul, but it took that DNA took 1700 years to grow to the point where the first culture in the world to ban slavery was Christian. It wasn't Muslims, it wasn't the Buddhists or the animists. Everybody practiced slavery, and the first culture to stop it was Christians. And I think that's very significant, the work we do, and just want to encourage you with that. Like you're in there working, and it's hard to see fruit, but it's like making a child. We put in the DNA, but we don't quite know what DNA has gone in. When the child comes out, we see it. Yeah. Anyway, so so going back to topic, you said that you've just shocked yourself saying it would depend on the cultural context, only to realize that what you just contradicted yourself because what you expected to happen did not happen, right? Is there anything else then that you would see in differences between men and women apostles?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. What processes do you suggest for discerning female apostles? How would you identify a woman as an apostle? So go back to the beginning of my talk here, like, okay, someone who's 50 years old has been doing this for 30 years, it's pretty obvious. But what about the kid like me, who gets the call of God at 18 years old? God says, I've called you to be an apostle at 18. You go, how could we? That's the sort of person I'm thinking about here. What sort of process are we looking at? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think along the lines of what you said about like key moments, epiphanies, revelations, like dreams, like writing down dreams and just dreams and like I remember my friend told me that she had a dream when she was younger and now she's living it out. And so making a list of like what you asked when we began this interview, key moments. But also I think um I'm trying to I recall like I'm making a list of names of my friends who are doing who I think will fit into the definition of female apostles.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I see is how they are being very bold, very courageous, and very quite single-minded. Like if they know that this is a calling from God and they want to do it. So I think I don't know. I don't know if it's a process that you can do or we can do by observing or seeing how someone who actually do what they believe should be done are when, yeah, instead of like, I don't know, I don't really know. But yeah, that I feel like to discern someone who is an apostle, you see how they embrace that calling. But I don't know the process. I don't know how do you know that? What kind of
Well,
process?
reflect on your own process. So,
Yeah.
so if your process is a generalized process for everyone, how would you see that working? I mean, obviously it's not, but there will be aspects of the way that God interacted with you that he will interact with others as well. So you talked at the beginning of the call, you talked about the influence of calling, yeah, perseverance. What other things would you be looking for? Meekun, you're a team leader. You need to think about these things for your recruiting.
Good question. Okay.
I'll give you an example. So, as you know, Nia, your team member, was in my recruiting pipeline for 5 years.
Yeah.
I met her at the organisational summit. We had lunch together, and she said to me, "I've talked to all these people, and no one will give me an internship." And I mean, without thinking, I said, "Come do one with me." Now, that may seem like a rash decision, but she's not a member of our organisation. She's come to our summit. It's a long way and a lot of money. She's showed some good dedication. She seems to be very zealous for Jesus. And so I put out the invite. And then so from there, from there, we've got 5 years of relationship on and off on WhatsApp. I had one meeting with her in Sydney when I was visiting a church, and then then she had to go through all the process of signing up for the internship. So I saw good character, and when she arrived, I immediately saw that. Oh my goodness, she's another. She's like me. She's like me. And she's like Arabella, where she doesn't want anyone telling her what to do. Because we know what we want to do. We don't want you telling me what to do. Yeah, anyway, so that's for me, like this is the indications along the way. So what about Shella? Shella, what were the things that you saw in Shella that made you want to recruit her to your team then?
Initially, I wanted to. It was I think it was coming from a place of, and now I've learned a lesson. It was coming from a place of like, oh, I need someone to help me.
Yeah.
And then after spending some time with her, I realized, she told me that she felt called to be in Bayan. And not very many people are being specific about an area. It's generally Lombok.
Yeah.
And they go from place to place. So it was that Bayan that made me feel like, oh, okay, I wanna know more about this friend. And then I took her up to the village a couple of times, and when we met, we just at the time we just started with the second oikos with lots of family, with 4 families in that group. And then she asked me questions about, oh, who do you think has the leadership capacity in that group? And we both agreed that it was Mamit Dimas. Whereas at the beginning, before I started, I was very nervous about Mamit Dimas because I never chat with him before. It was always with his wife. And so she was very, she knew how to identify the leaders, the person of peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the group. Yeah, I think those were my, and then how she was like, not was willing. She never did any social project or work with children before. So she was willing to learn in that,
Yeah.
but she believed in making disciples, which was also like the first part of my vision. The second part was preventing child marriage.
Yep. Okay. So you saw that she was, so she had the desire or the call, and she was willing. So she was willing to go away, because where you live is a long way from anywhere. Or where you minister is a long way from anywhere. I mean, she was. She showed some wisdom in terms of leadership selection, and she was good with your social program as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what would we call that? She was. Would you say she was flexible? I don't want to put too many words in your mouth. This is meant to be me listening to you.
I think she is a flexible person.
Yeah.
She takes initiative as well.
Mm.
But in terms of like, looking back now, I don't think she's an apostle. Because the desire to shift the conversation into something spiritual or to lead DBS, she was often feeling not confident. I think
Okay.
it's because something was going on with her,
Yep.
within her. But
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I think that should be next time. That should be an orange flag for me to discern whether or not someone is an apostle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't just want to recruit apostles to your team, right? You want to have a variety of people, but you do want people who can share the gospel. Okay. All right. Okay. Can you think of anything else that you would suggest in terms of descending female apostles?
I think this is coming from I think of Rosie. I think of one of the girls that I'm discipling. And after sharing with her about the good news and her coming to faith, I think one of the ways to discern whether or not she's an apostle is to give her enough space, like to show her to how it is to pray for other people, but also to give her enough space to actually do it, space and time to actually do it, and realize that calling as we continue to push her to build relationship with God. And I think I see that in your internship program as well, where you teach us and give us the opportunity to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've been praying. We've been praying that God will draw to us the apostles and the prophets and the evangelists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. so in that last round, we had a whole bunch of evangelists and one prophet. So, yeah. Okay, all right. Last question, Nilsa. What specific trainings would you recommend for developing women apostles?
Hearing from God, listening
Okay.
from God.
Okay.
There's name for it, the Elijah challenge, but basically praying for other people, right away, laying hands on other people, and training with like doing Bible study together with asking good questions, like the DBS one, but even go deeper with, varying the questions, leading people to what we want them to learn. And also like building relationships and just navigating conversations towards spiritual conversations. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Is it okay if we go back to question number 12? Something just crossed my mind as we were talking earlier.
Sure.
I think something that I noticed from my female apostle friends and myself as well is that I think it has something to do with us being women, that we are more we are able to relate better with other people. Like we have that mother, I don't like it just feel like it's more gentle to me.
Okay.
Like the female apostle in relating with other people. But maybe I haven't seen much of male apostles as well in my own ministry and in my daily life. I mean, I see you as a gentle person, yes. But yeah, I just feel like women, because we often use our feelings, it's easily accepted as well sometimes in the community.
Yep. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. So I've called you Ilsa. I've named Shella. When I do only the transcript will appear in my appendices. In fact, I don't think they even appear in my appendices. So I'll change the names. So
Yeah.
do you have a favorite female Bible character?
A favorite female Bible character, was it Esther or Ruth? Esther,
Okay.
the
All
one
right.
who came to the king.
Okay. I'll call you Esther then.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll change Schiller's name. Any other names, any other people I'll just change them to random names. Okay, just so when you read them, don't go, "Who the heck is that?" Well, thank you for your time, and I'm glad we could get this done quickly. Yeah, you've been very helpful. And if you come up with more stuff, you can send me the easiest thing to do is for me to process it is just do a little video and send me the little video, and because then I can just put it into YouTube and make a transcript.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for your time. God bless.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ending for all.